As you might have guessed from the name here, this one is an Arthurian area control game that takes place in Avalon, so you're going to see things like the Holy Grail, Excalibur, King Arthur, Merlin, Mordred, and other characters that I'm a little less familiar with, but at the start of the game, players are going to be choosing a faction that they want to play as, with a leader character that's going to be one of these more familiar characters. Then you're going to have a bunch of other units that you'll be able to control as well. The game also allows you to choose whether you want to play it with asymmetrical or symmetrical faction powers, and something that's really neat about playing with the asymmetrical powers is that each of the different factions does have a specific goal that they're trying to achieve, and if you are able to achieve that goal, then you're going to be flipping your board to the other side, upgrading your faction and your character into a more powerful form. As I mentioned, this game does take place on the island of Avalon, but at the start of the game, this whole island is going to be covered in mist, represented by having all the different location tiles face down, and players having to explore them in order to reveal whatever they might have on them. In order for players to take actions, they're going to be using action cards of 4 different types. There are your movement cards, your deployment cards, your settlement cards, and your combat cards, and each of these are going to be offered in a different color, and each of them are going to be offering you different abilities or effects within their respective categories. These do also have a cost in order to play their effects, and what's really neat about this is that you're going to be paying for that cost with your other cards. So you're going to have to decide which ones you want to use or keep for a following turn, and which ones you're willing to sacrifice as currency. Each round, players are going to be choosing one of these cards that they want to play, and then everyone is going to reveal their cards simultaneously. These cards do also have a numeric value on them, and you're going to be comparing those values in order to determine who has the most initiative, and then that player is going to be able to take their action first. Players are normally going to be deploying their units to the perimeter of the board and then using movement actions to move further into the center of Avalon, because it's these more central locations that are going to be offering you more victory points if you are able to maintain control of those regions. But as players explore these different locations, if you move into a location that is still showing its mist side, you're going to be flipping that tile to the other side, revealing the benefits that it offers, but also the amount of victory points it grants for controlling it, because this is variable across the tiles. And then you're also going to be gaining a card because each of the unexplored areas is also going to have a card assigned to it, adding even more variability into the game. And these cards can either offer you new gear, which you can assign to your different unit types, or they could be offering you different creatures that you can actually tame and bring into your team as one of your units. And of course, this world isn't going to be so kind to just grant you with those cards as soon as you reveal them, and instead, if it's an item, you'll have to win a battle in that location in order to claim that item for yourself. And the items are really nice because you can assign them to your different types of units in order to give them various upgrades. But if it's a creature, then all gameplay is going to temporarily pause, and then players are going to be entering into a bidding round where you're going to be using your action cards in order to bid for control of that creature. This is yet another way that you can use your action cards, but also another way that you can just burn through them. The turns continue like this until the end of the round, and then you're going to be moving into a war phase where you're going to be resolving each of the different locations, rewarding victory points for the players that have the most presence there. If multiple players have units in the same location, then you're going to be comparing the strength by adding up the strength of the various units there, but then each player is also going to be able to play a combat card from their hand if they're able to, which is going to grant them with some sort of special effect in that battle. And then you can also use any of your other cards as support to add even more strength to your side, but you can only use one card of each color. After all of that is said and done, if you have the first, second, or third amount of influence in that location, you're going to be gaining the amount of victory points depicted on that location's tile. And then the game plays over 3 seasons like this, and of course the player with the most victory points at that time wins. But there are some other things that you can do to try and tip the scales in your favor, because there is going to be a bunch of different prophecy cards that will appear throughout the game, and players can try to complete these different objectives across these cards in order to move up on the favor track. This gains you favor with the Lady of the Lake, which can grant you some instant bonuses as you move up that track, but also the player with the most favor is the one that's going to gain access to Excalibur, which is one of the more powerful items offered in the game. If this one sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out, and of course you can click to get notified to make sure that you don't miss out on the free gift if you do back this on day 1.